Hello and good evening. Welcome back to another Arsenal news show. I'm JC, your host. We are the Arsenal. I hope everyone is doing very, very well today. A load more stories to get through. Wasn't even sure if I'd be doing another show this evening, but there's just been too much Arsenal news in the last 24 hours not to bring you another 10 to 15 minute show this evening. Now, if you do go on to enjoy today's show, please do drop a like. If you're new around here, don't forget to subscribe and also turn that notification bell button on, as I am beginning to bring you more and more shows. And if you don't want to miss out, you're going to need to have it turned on so you know when I'm going live. Get your questions in the chat box as well. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have surrounding any of these rumours or pieces of news. There's some tasty ones there for you guys to sink your teeth into this evening. So get your comments in, get your questions in. And without no further ado, let's jump into the very first story of today's show. If I can bring it up on screen, that is. Lovely jubbly. So the very first story that we'll be covering today is Alexander Isak of Real Sociedad. Now, the rumours surrounding Vlahovic just seem to continue to go on and on and on. Alexander Isak is a player that is part of a so-called four-man shortlist, which also includes Jonathan David and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, in light of the lengthy and difficult negotiations between Arsenal and Fiorentina, Arsenal could be exploring other options. And according to AS, Real Sociedad are not interested in listening to any offers for Isak this month. And if Arsenal want to sign him and want permission to talk to the player, they are going to have to pay his full release clause, which is 90 million euros, which I believe is somewhere in the region of around 75 million pounds. Whether or not Arsenal would want to do that this January, they might want to wait for Vlahovic, who we will come on to in a later part of the show. Make sure that is dead first before spending their money elsewhere, or maybe even waiting until the summer. Up next is Yves Bissouma of Brighton, a player that we were linked with quite often throughout the summer. And, well, as we didn't sign him, the links did go very, very quiet. Not much in the build-up to the January transfer window. However, yesterday it was reported that he was subject of several different offers, which Brighton have rejected. An offer of around £30 million, apparently. But Aston Villa, Newcastle and Arsenal are said to be interested, according to Fabrice Hawkins. And it's more likely that if he is to leave, it will be in the summer opposed to the winter window. For me, I don't see there being much truth behind this in terms of Arsenal being interested. Arteta and Edu seem to be targeting a very certain type of profile and player, and he just doesn't seem to fit what Arsenal are looking to target moving forwards. Jed Spence was again linked with the club today. We did cover this yesterday. However, a price tag has come up this time. Leeds haven't been mentioned in the conversation. When we talked about him yesterday, Leeds were apparently interested. In today's report, it's just Arsenal and Spurs, and he's valued at around about £12 million. As mentioned yesterday, if a deal is done in January, he will have to go back out on loan, as he's already played for two clubs this season and would not be able to feature for Arsenal or Spurs, whichever club did sign him. Alternatively, if he doesn't move in January, it could be a player on the move in the summer. He is also gaining interest from clubs across Europe, apparently, which was a little bit surprising with all due respect. Artur, we speak about him in every single show, but it does seem as though there have been some very good developments for Arsenal throughout today. First thing this morning, according to Gazzetta, Juventus director of football is demanding that Arsenal, well, basically commit financially significantly for the Artur deal, meaning that they either want an obligation to buy in the contract for a 6-month loan between now and the summer, or they want a bigger fee up front on an 18-month loan for the player. However, in the last couple of hours, Charles Watts has reported that this evening, Edu actually held face-to-face talks with Artur's agent in London today. This was later confirmed by Fabrizio Romano as well. So it does seem to potentially be getting into the more advanced stages of this particular deal. I don't know if that means that Arsenal will look to opt into an obligation to buy or take him on a longer term deal. But this one does seem as though it's the deal that will happen, if any do happen, in the January transfer window. Now, Arteta held his press conference a little earlier on today, and he did share some team news with us, which was later confirmed by Charles Watts. Martin Odegaard is back in training and has also been pictured in training as well. Smith Rowe and Tomiyasu could be fit for the game tomorrow against Liverpool, still being assessed. Fingers crossed they are. I'd really like it if Arsenal could field a strong team and actually get to Wembley in the Carabao Cup final. Saka, Tierney and Chambers should also be available, according to Charles Watts. And if you look back at the players that were unavailable over the weekend, and even some of those not available in the first leg, it would seem as though Arsenal could potentially have a full team ahead of the Liverpool game tomorrow night, which is absolutely huge because Liverpool are still without players like Salah, Mane and Naby Keita, for example. Now, before we get into our next story, because it's a very, very big one, and it will no doubt be talked about for the next coming weeks until there is an outcome, please do drop a like on today's show if you're enjoying. Subscribe if you're new around here, and don't forget to turn that notification bell button on so that you don't miss out on any future shows. As I said, there'll be plenty more coming between now and the end of the January transfer window. So if you haven't already heard, unfortunately, a couple of hours ago, news broke that the FA are looking to investigate Arsenal for a second yellow card received in a Premier League fixture this season amid concerns of suspicious betting patterns. Now, this was reported by The Athletic. It is understood that bookmakers flagged to the FA unusual amounts of money being placed on an Arsenal player being shown a yellow card. The Athletic knows the identity of the player in question, but has agreed not to reveal the player's name at this time due to privacy reasons. Now, this report is far more detailed on the Athletic's website if you do want to go and have a look. One thing that did surprise me, though, is that in the initial report, it said that the referee was not being investigated, but since the initial report went up, it has since changed and been removed. Now, there's lots of speculation around referees not necessarily being corrupt. I don't want to spread that sort of rumour, but the level of refereeing in this country just simply isn't good enough. And if there has been any sort of dodgy dealings with officials in the Premier League over the years, could this be the beginning of their unfolding? Also, unfortunately, with social media being the way it is, many players have been speculatively named, shall we say, as to who it could be. And Granit Xhaka is one of those players. Unfortunately, he seems to be the one player named the most. But this is just pure speculation. I'm sure we'll find out more over the next coming weeks. Hopefully, it doesn't come to absolutely anything. It's just a bit of a coincidence. But Arsenal currently under investigation from the FA due to suspicious betting activity around a yellow card that was received during a Premier League game this season. I tell you what, with the way things are going at the moment, that Amazon documentary come the end of the season is going to be absolutely crazy. And there's still so much of the season left to go as well. Now, like I said about Artur, same with Vlahovic. Would it be a news show if we didn't talk about this player? There are 4 news stories surrounding the player today. I will go through each and every one of them, and then you can go away and make your own assumption before we get into the headline story of today's show. So apparently, according to one report, Fiorentina have accepted Arsenal's offer of a total of 106 million euros, and this would include any of the commissions and player fees as well. So the actual bid for the player itself to Fiorentina is around 80 million euros, and the remaining money mentioned would be to, commission the agents and the player. However, according to this particular report, which was reported by Calcio Mercato, the player has already agreed to join Juventus on a free in 2023 once his contract expires. Now, this would be against the rules in world football. You are only legally allowed to speak to a player 6 months prior to a contract expiring. And you're also not allowed to negotiate with clubs in your own league. It would be clubs outside of the league. So if that is found to be true, I'm assuming Fiorentina would take legal action, because 80 million euros is a lot of money for a club like Fiorentina, who don't typically tend to receive big fees for their players, to lose out on. Would be a huge, huge miss. So certainly one to keep an eye on. Romano reports that Arsenal have been trying to sign Vlahovic since October. It remains to be complicated due to the player and agent side of things. Ben Jacobs, who was a journalist over on the Gooner Talk recently, was told that from Fiorentina and Arsenal sources, there is still no official bid for the player, or at least it hasn't been accepted. Arsenal would love to sign the player. Fiorentina happy to listen to offers both in January and the summer. And then finally, the latest one in the day coming from Republica. Arsenal are waiting for a response, meaning that they have made a bid from Fiorentina and have prepared a 5-year contract worth £10 million per season to the player. Fiorentina have apparently already lined up a replacement, Giacomo Raspadori of Sassuolo in the Serie A. Hopefully I have pronounced that properly. So this one will rumble on, no doubt, all the way up until the very end of the January transfer window. And I have a feeling that if we don't sign him in January, we won't sign him at all. And we will go after either an Isak, a Jonathan David, or even a Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Okie dokie. So moving into our final story of today's show, it surrounds Aubameyang. Apparently, he has been subject of a bid from a club in, I think it's Saudi Arabia, called Al Nassr. It was first reported by James Benge of CBS Sports. The bid went in on Tuesday. It's a 6-month loan, so a loan until the end of the season, with an obligation to buy for around £7 million. Arsenal are yet to respond to this particular offer, according to the report. And later this evening, it was also confirmed by Gunner's blog and The Athletic as well. So that seems to be picking up a bit of speed. Very interested to see whether or not that is actually true. And if Aubameyang does leave in the January transfer window, that realistically only leaves Lacazette and, Nketiah at the club as recognised strikers in the first team. And after Vlahovic's shenanigans in his game for Fiorentina the other night, and maybe connecting dots that aren't there, something to have a little look into. Right, I'm going to go through the comments in the chat box now. So if you do have any questions, get them in the chat box before we finish off today's show. So let's have a little look here. We've got Judge in the chat. Really appreciate you coming along and showing your support. I hope you're doing well this evening. Keith as well, hope you're doing well, mate. Thank you very much for coming along. Anyone need a brown envelope? I hear that, yes, that's exactly the rumour I heard as well. Many people saying that it could be Granit Xhaka. Thank you very much, Chippy Boy, for coming along. He's suggesting that it's Aubameyang. Okie dokie. Maybe it's a coincidence that this betting story comes out after we ruined Super Sunday for Sky Sports. Just saying, yeah, they seem to be pushing this one quite a bit this evening. Maybe, everyone hates Arsenal, don't they? Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it. Anyone know what game it was? Apparently, it was I say apparently, I want to say this very, very loosely because I don't want to start a rumour that it definitely was this player in this game, this incident, for example. But there's one clip circulating at the moment where Granit Xhaka takes around about 20 seconds to take a free kick against Leeds, which he is then booked by the ref. And around about, I think 2 minutes before that, he put in a really tasty tackle on Rafinha and didn't get booked. So what people are saying is that it just feels like he was really, really trying to, get that booking, apparently. And Keith agreeing here with Chippy Boy about Aubameyang as well. So that is about going to wrap things up for today's show. Plenty of news. No show tomorrow as Arsenal are playing in the second leg Carabao Cup semi-final against Liverpool. Hopefully we can get a win. I'll be bringing you a reaction and analysis show on Friday evening around 9 p.m. Hopefully, as I said yesterday, off the back of a win and on the way to Wembley with our usual panelists, hopefully. But like always, if you have enjoyed today's live show, do hit that like button. Subscribe if you are new around here. And don't forget to turn that notification bell button on because we don't know what type of news is going to drop and when. And when it's big news, I will be doing a show, and you won't want to miss out because I will bring you all the relevant details to keep you up to speed on everything surrounding Arsenal Football Club. But I hope you have enjoyed today's show. Thank you very much. Enjoy and take care. Catch you on Friday.